I've never told anyone this, not even him, because I'm afraid if I say it out loud, it'll become real. It happened in the living room, just after 6 a.m. in Seattle. I was still in my nightdress holding a cloth, and he kissed me. My husband's younger brother kissed me, and I let him. I didn't move. I just sank to me knees, and he didn't stop me. The tea mug slipped from my hand when it turned too quickly, spilled across the hardwood floor in a slow, deliberate stain. I muttered a breathless curse and dropped down without thinking. The wood was cold under my knees. The thin hem of my sleep dress clung to my thighs, damp from the spill. I wasn't wearing anything underneath, not on purpose. I'd had cramps all night and tossed my panties aside around 3 a.m. I meant to change before coming downstairs. I forgot, and that's when I heard him, Liam, standing behind me. I froze, the cloth, still in my hand, half pressed into the puddle. My bare thigh stightened instinctively. But I didn't move. I didn't cover myself. I didn't even breathe. I felt him take a step closer. The air around me changed, got warmer, heavier. Then I felt him, behind me, close, so close his breath touched the back of my neck. His hand came down slowly, brushing over my shoulder, down my arm. He wasn't helping. He wasn't asking. He was reaching. I looked up over my shoulder and he was staring. Note at the mess on the floor, not at the cloth in my hand, but at me, my hips bent. Beneath the fabric, the curve of my back, the soft dip of skin just beneath my shoulder blade. His gaze made me feel naked because I nearly was. I should have stood, should have snapped something sharp, but I just watched him. And then he knelt behind me, both knees, chest brushing my back, hands light on my arms like he was asking the question. I wasn't brave enough to say aloud. His mouth hovered near my ear. "You okay?" I nodded, but my voice didn't come. His hands slid lower, not rushed, not forceful, just barely resting at my waist. The cloth dropped from my grip. My hands were shaking. Then he kissed the side of my neck, soft, slow, like he was memorizing the exact heat of my skin. This wasn't confusion. It wasn't impulse. It was need. Brutal, human, overdue. I exhaled a shaky sound that barely made it out, and I tilted my head just a little, enough for him to understand. His lips pressed again, lower, just above the strap that had fallen off my shoulder. The fabric slipped further, revealing the top curve of my chest. He didn't stare. He didn't grope. He just breathed me in like I was something he'd never expected to want, but couldn't turn away from now. I turned slowly, still kneeling. My knees slid on the wood, and now I was facing him, level with his chest, his breath shallow, his pupils blown wide with a hunger I wasn't ready for, but didn't fear. His hand cupped my jaw, thumb brushed the corner of my mouth, and I kissed him back. Just once, just long enough to know we both crossed a line we wouldn't be able to redraw. The hem of my dress had ridden high. I felt it, felt the cool air kiss the skin no one else was supposed to see. My thighs parted slightly for balance, but there was no grace left. Only tension, only heat. He didn't try to push it. His hand rested on my waist, anchoring me, and I whispered, "This isn't okay," but it didn't move. I didn't pull away, and neither did he. The silence between us stretched thin, pulled taut like fabric about to rip. I thought I'd moved on. Then he looked at me like I wasn't broken anymore. That morning, I sat in the living room and sang. After he left, still on the floor, still holding the cloth, still trembling. I couldn't tell you if I felt guilty or alive, maybe both. I thought this would fix the ache. It just moved it somewhere deeper. If you've ever let something happen just because it made you feel real again, even when you knew you'd pay for it later, this one's for you. Some things can't be undone. I didn't sleep that night, not even for 5 minutes. I lay in bed with the ceiling, fans spinning slow shadows across the ceiling. My knees still remembered the wood. My neck still held the ghost of his mouth. And my hand. God, my hand wouldn't stop shaking. I'd kissed my husband's younger brother. No, that wasn't right. I'd let him kiss me, and I had kissed him back. The morning came too fast. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time, still in the same night dress, the one with the faint stain of tea on the hem. I hadn't washed it. Couldn't. It felt like touching it again would break here in meth that hadn't cracked until now. Downstairs the house was quiet. Too quiet. The usual smell of toast was missing. No hum from the tea kettle. No clatter of plates. Just the soft tick of the wall clock and the hollow silence of a living room holding its breath. I wrapped my robe tight and crept down barefoot. Liam wasn't there, but the cloth was still draped over the back of the couch where I dropped it, still damp from where I'd held it too long in my hand after. I stared at it like it might accuse me of something or confess on my behalf. The counter was clean. The floor was spotless. No trace of tea, no proof, except in me. I touched the edge of the couch where his hand had rested behind me. I could still feel it like heat on metal long after the fire's gone. My knees buckled slightly, a memory passing through them like a chill. This wasn't going to go away, no matter how quiet we tried to stay. Mark didn't call that morning. I didn't expect him to. He was away at a conference. 2 more nights to go. It used to bother me that he stopped sending photos or updates. Now I was just relieved. The further he felt from, the less I had to pretend I was still the woman he married. Liam didn't come out until nearly noon. I heard the creak of his bedroom door, the sound of water from the upstairs bathroom. I stood frozen by the sink, pouring. Second cup of tea I didn't even want. He walked past the living room once. Didn't look in. Just a blur of navy hoodie and bare feet. The space between us wasn't empty. It was thick, tense, pulled taut like elastic, ready to snap, and I felt every inch of it in my spine. That night, I cooked risotto. Something to do with my hands. The rosemary scent filled the living room. It reminded me of simpler nights. Early marriage, shared dinners before things got cold, before things got quiet. I set 2 plates without thinking. He came down just as I was opening a bottle of wine. His eyes met mine for the first time in 36 hours. He looked tired. Not hungover tired, emotionally tired. The kind of tired that settles into your bones when you're holding something you're not supposed to carry. I handed him a plate. No words. We sat, ate, forks, scraping quietly. Halfway through the meal, he said it. I'm sorry. His voice was soft, not ashamed, just sorry. I looked at him, his jaw clenched, eyes down. I didn't mean to. He trailed off. I know, I said. I shouldn't have. You didn't force me, I interrupted, sharper than I intended. His eyes shot up, and for a moment, it was like we both realized something awful. We had both wanted it. After dinner, I washed dishes. He dried. Our hands brushed once on a plate. Webeth froze. I felt the warmth of his skin through the suds, the sudden tension in his fingers, but neither Ophis pulled away. He handed me a cloth, not the cloth, a fresh one, and I caught myself wishing it were the other. What's wrong with me? That night, there was a note on my door, folded neatly, stuck under the edge so it wouldn't slide. I don't know how to act normal around you, but I don't want to disappear either. Please don't hate me. Please don't pretend. I stood holding that note, the hallway light flickering like a pulse behind me. I didn't write back, but I didn't tear it up either. The next morning, I dressed differently. Not sexy, not sloppy, just intentional. Jeans, a cotton long-sleeve top, pulled my hair into a clean ponytail, armor. Liam was already in the living room when I walked in, making toast, his back tome. Same navy joggers, barefoot, mug in his hand, the chipped one with the faint line down the handle. My mug sat next to it. He poured my tea. I nodded. No smile. He nodded back. That was our language now. Quiet knowing, careful gravity. I sipped slowly, watching the rain tap the window. He stood beside me, shoulder brushing mine every time he reached for something. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. But I felt him look at me once, twice. And then I keep thinking about that moment, he said, his voice, so quiet. I barely caught it. I said nothing. He leaned closer just an inch, just enough for his breath to warm my shoulder. Eunil and I couldn't breathe. I set my mug down too fast. It clinked hard against the wooden table. Don't, I said, breath caught in my throat. I'm not asking for anything, he whispered. I've never seen anyone look. It turned to him. No, I said. Stop there. He swallowed hard, nodded. But he didn't move. And neither did I. It wasn't a kiss. It was everything before it. Kiss that hurt worse. Later that afternoon, I found myself on the floor of the laundry room folding cloths. Same wood, same posture, different room. I touched the white one, at the bottom of the basket, the one I used in the living room. My hand hesitated, pressed it flat, folded, refolded, unfolded again. I brought it to my face. It didn't smell like tea anymore. It smelled like memory, and I hated how much of me still wanted to keep it. There was a pattern forming. Every day I told myself, don't let it happen again. And every day I made one small excuse to stand closer to him, is stop taking my tea upstairs. I lingered longer near the couch when he was there. I wore softer fabrics, not sexy, just reactive things that responded to air, to motion, toe presence. He didn't make a move, but he also didn't move away. It was like we were holding the same secret between our palms, afraid to open our fingers and let the air rush in. The tension was tactile. One afternoon, I was wiping down the coffee table. He passed behind me, arms full of books. His elbow brushed the curve of my waist. My shirt lifted slightly, skin on skin. Just a second, but I felt it for hours. I dropped the sponge. Sorry, he muttered, backing up. But his voice wasn't guilty. It was shaking. I crouched to pick up the sponge, and he crouched too. We both reached for it. Our hands touched, and we both froze. His fingers didn't pull away. Not right away. I looked up, face just inches from his. His breath smelled like mint. His lashes were dark, damp. His eyes searched mine, but he didn't ask anything. He just looked. I took the sponge. He let it go, and still, he stayed crouched. We were eye level now, and the silence was louder than words. I didn't need him to say it. It needed him to stay this close, 1 second longer than appropriate. And he did. That night, I found another note tucked inside the folded cloth on the laundry counter. Just 5 words. I still feel your breath. I reread it until the letters blurred. Then I pressed the cloth to my chest. Not because I was cold, but because he wanted to remember what it felt like Toby wanted. Not politely, not respectfully, but achingly. The day it happened was ordinary, cloudy, breezy. Late afternoon, Mark had texted me he'd be home late. Liam was in the basement fixing a shelf. I was upstairs, reorganizing linens that didn't need reorganizing. I walked down to get something, anything. When I passed the basement door, it was slightly open. He was sitting on the floor, shirt off, sweat on his collarbone. His hands were covered in sawdust. His hair was messy. He looked young and completely real. He looked up, and I paused. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah," he said, standing. "Just needed a break." He wiped his hands on a rag, then on his pants, then looked at me. "You smell like lavender." I laughed, nervous. "Laundry soap," I said. He nodded. "It's nice." We stood in the narrow doorway between the basement and living room, close enough that our arms would brush if either of us shifted, even an inch. I didn't know what I was doing there, but I didn't walk away. "I keep trying not to remember," he said suddenly. "But I do." I looked at him. "Liam, I remember your knees on the floor," he said, voice lower now. "Your back, your hands shaking, and how you didn't move." I exhaled sharp like a warning. But he didn't back up. "I remember your face when you turned home. You weren't afraid." I was ashamed. I said, "No," he whispered. "You were alive." He took a step forward, then another. Now he was right in front of me. I felt my breath stop. He raised his hand slow, almost questioning, then tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His knuckles skimmed my jaw. My chest rose sharply. His thumb brushed the hollow of my throat. I should have told him to stop, but I didn't because I didn't want to. He leaned in. His lips didn't land on mine. They hovered, waited. I tilted my head just a little, and that was all he needed. The kiss was nothing like the first one. This one was desperate. His hands gripped my waist, pulled me in. My arms slid up to his shoulders. I felt his skin, warm, tense, trembling under my palms. His breath faltered against my lips. My knee softened. The kiss deepened, but not in lust. In something tired, something that had waited too long to be touched. He backed me into the living room wall, gentle but certain. My hands were on his chest, then his stomach, then lower, and then I pulled back, breathing hard, fingers curling into his shirt, face hot, legs shaking. "I can't," I whispered. He nodded but didn't step away. "I know." He rested his forehead against mine and I felt it. His heart beat fast just like mine. "I'm not asking for anything," he said. I closed my eyes, but I didn't move. I didn't want this to mean everything, but it did. We didn't go upstairs. We didn't undress. But the heat between us didn't need that. His mouth was at my throat. My hand gripped the hem of his shirt like it anchored me. His thumb slid under my sleeve, brushing the curve of my shoulder. My legs weakened. I sank down, knees to the wood again. Not from surrender, not from shame, but because I didn't know how else to stay standing. And once again, he didn't stop. Me. We stayed like that for minutes, hours. I don't remember. We didn't speak. We didn't ask. But when I finally stood, his hand lingered at my waist, holding me upright like I might fall, and maybe I already had. We didn't speak the rest off that day. Not when I passed him the cloth, after he washed his hands. Not when I left my empty mug next to his on the table. Not even when we bumped shoulders turning the corner into the hallway. But the silence wasn't angry. It was intimate, too intimate. Like we were both still inside it. That night, I stared at the ceiling again. Same fan, same room, different body. Everything about me felt heavier. Like the kiss had lived in my chest longer than the actual moment. I could still feel the echo of his breath against my skin. We didn't sleep together, but something had still been undone. The next morning, I found the cloth again, folded neatly. placed on the living room couch, like someone had laundered it, dried it, and brought it back where it first witnessed everything, and that someone wasn't me. Liam wasn't in the living room, but his presence was. The chipped navy mug sat alone, filled halfway, still warm. I didn't drink mine. I just sat on the edge of the dining bench, robe tied, fingers clenched around the edge of the seat, like I was trying to hold still the version of myself that had let this happen. This living room still held our shape. He avoided me the rest of the day, stayed outside, worked on his bike, or just pretended to. But I saw his shadow in the window, saw the way he paced between tools, wiped sweat from his brow with his shirt still on, and I hated how much I was looking, counting his steps, memorizing his outlines. Wanting doesn't stop just because you've already wanted enough to regret it. That evening, I left the cloth on the dryer, purposefully, as a test or a goodbye. It wasn't moved, but the next morning, I found the broken shelf in the hallway had been fixed. No note, no mention, just done. Like it Wash's way of saying, I still care, but I won't stay. Mark texted me later that night. I'll be home tomorrow afternoon. Traffic's been rough. Love you. I stared at the words. Love you. I didn't reply. Not yet. He sat on the floor of the laundry room. Again. Same wood, same cloth, same corner. And I cried, not loud, not messy, just enough for the cloth to matter again. The next morning, I came downstairs, before dawn, and he was there. Liam, sitting on the floor of the living room, this time back against the wall, eyes red. He didn't look surprised to see me. You're leaving, I said softly. He nodded. Mark's coming home. Another nod. I walked toward him. Bare feet, loose cotton pajama pants, oversized sweatshirt, no makeup, no perfume, no tension, just fatigue and maybe quiet sorrow. He didn't stand up, just looked up at me from where he sat. I stood still for a moment, then stepped forward, knelt in front of him. Same spot, same floor. Our knees touched, and for the first time he spoke, without hesitation. I never meant to make you carry this. I looked at him. You didn't. I brought it with me. He reached forward, brushed his fingers along my jaw, not possessive, just memorizing. I pulled something from behind me, the cloth, folded it in half, then gently placed it in his lap. I can't keep this, I said, but I couldn't throw it away. His eyes welled. He held it like it was glass, like it was me. I leaned in, pressed my forehead to his, and whispered, I still don't regret it. He exhaled, like I'd freed something inside him, but he didn't kiss me. He didn't move closer, and that made it harder, because sometimes the deepest pain isn't being rejected. It's being remembered the way you wanted. But still, having to let go, I stood, left the living room, didn't turn back. But as I reached the stairs, I heard the softest sound. A body shifting, a knee hitting wood, and I knew he had knelt too. Maybe not toward me, but toward the version of us that would never exist again. I reached for him like a lifeline, but maybe I wasn't drowning. Maybe I was dragging him under too. And still, I'd do it again. Some people you touch without touching. Some kisses never stop. And some mornings you kneel not because you're weak, but because you're finally honest. I'm not proud of what I did, but for the first time in years, I felt something real, and maybe for a few seconds on that living room floor, I was